Because that's the big concern, right? People don't want to hurt the relationship with their friend by bringing up, we could do business together. Hey, everybody, it's Steve Fretzin, and welcome back to the Be That Lawyer podcast. That's my announcer voice, guys. What do you think? Pretty good?
Pretty good. It sounds really good. And
Yeah,
you're consistent.
I'm consistent. Okay. All right. I like that. This is the show about helping you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. And we are here twice a week for you to learn all about how to be that lawyer and how to run a great law firm, how to market, how to business develop, how to deal with in-house counsel, like whatever it is that we're gonna have on. We're gonna have great guests to make sure you all know what you're doing. Here's a quick announcement that's kind of exciting too. If you haven't heard, I am now available on Above the Law. So that publication now has my podcast up and running on it. So I'm very excited about that partnership. But let's jump in right away. We've got Shereen and Nicola here, and yes, I nailed
Good job.
it. Yes, and let's start off with your quote of the show, and this is very serious topic. Helen Keller. You know, for those of you who are under 30 years old and may not know who that is, we can get into that in a moment. But the quote is, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing," which is interesting. So tell us a little. Welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about why that quote and why you chose that quote over "polish your balls every single day," which I was the other one we had to choose from. I told you I was going to do that. I'm not a liar.
That's such a good one.
It's a good one. Well, thank you for having us. We are excited to be here. I have started listening to your show when I came out of corporate and was starting a law firm. So I have enjoyed it. It's given me a lot of really good tips.
And
Well, I
why the
appreciate
quote?
that.
Oh, and why the quote? The
Yeah.
quote, I
I
mean,
have to keep her focused. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. It's okay. That's my job.
I
You
mean,
know the show so well that you skipped over the
I
explanation of
skipped
the
over
quote
the
of the
explanation
show.
of the quote. I mean, I think it kind of sums up how Nicola and I are living our lives. Like, you gotta, what, go big, go home, or have fun, or what? Nothing.
Have
I
fun
think it
or
also,
die.
yeah, I think it also summarizes our friendship, right? So we're all in.
Yeah.
And we've been that way since I forced her to be my friend over 20 years ago.
So you guys have decided to push in on the have a daring adventure over death and nothingness. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, good decision. You guys really must have thought that out hard and long and hard. Let's see. Do I want to have fun and have a wonderful life or just die? Let's see.
Yeah. I mean,
I
we can rest when we're dead. Like,
Okay. All right.
I mean, let's be honest. Our other big personal goal is when we're in the nursing homes one day and we've outlived our husbands, and we need things to talk about, right? We'll be able to talk about all our big adventures.
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah. Yeah. You got to have some interesting videos hidden too that you can pull up. Anyway, listen, guys, I'm so excited that you're here and that you're with us. We've got Nicola Hobeiche and we've got Shereen Domeiri. I just screwed that up so badly.
But it
Domeiri.
was her name, so that's good.
All right. Yes. So
Domeiri.
Shereen, go bite a lemon. All right. Too bad. And you guys are both the co-hosts of the podcast Counsel Brew. And I would love for you guys to give a little background, not only on the show, but also on your backgrounds in house and how you came to be. And then I've got a bunch of questions for you because we don't often interview and have conversations with in-house lawyers and all that. So this is, to me, this is kind of a exciting new area we can talk through. So
So why did we do the podcast?
So why did we do the podcast? So as I had mentioned earlier, I rolled out of in-house counsel position around the pandemic, right? And decided that this is a time for me to think about starting a firm. So I dove all in, joined a bunch of business groups, and through one of those, had an intro to podcasting. And one day I showed up and told Nicola, hey, I think we should do a podcast. You know, there's a lot of podcasts out there for lawyers. And there's actually a couple of programs here at the Dallas Bar that highlight really cool lawyers. But I was like, okay, but that's only a handful of people. And there's so many great stories. And as I've been on this journey, like there's a lot of ways to get to where you want to go, right? There's not one dedicated path, which I think a lot of us felt that when we came out of law school, and it's just not true. And so we're trying to highlight those folks and their path to what we call their path to badassery. So
Mm.
And I mean, I confess, I'm a sucker for a microphone. So when Shereen offered to buy a microphone as part of it, I don't even think, I mean, I know I didn't. I never even asked her, what are we going to talk about? She just said microphone, podcast. I said yes.
Yeah, that was it. You were
That
just,
was it.
you had stars in your eyes when you heard microphone. I get to be a radio, host and actress on stage. I get to perform, right? Back to, do
Yeah,
you guys do that in high school? Did you do any like theater in high school or anything like that?
I did not. But I do have really great cassette tapes from when I was a kid where I was interviewing my best friend at the time and we did different voices and it was kind of like a mini SNL.
Okay.
That my daughter discovered a few years ago and made my husband listen to over and over again in the only car that has a cassette player still in it.
Wow.
So those were radiant moments that I got to relive.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was a radio DJ for a couple of summers.
Oh, there you
So
go. Okay. So
You
we
just
get
had
it.
to one up me.
I'm
We get
sorry.
it. Yeah.
At the local college radio station. So that was fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I never really got to do it. I've just been, speaking for, 25 years or something like that in front of audiences and I never really and I, get some videos put together, but this has been such an amazing stage to, almost coming up on 5 years to be able to, talk with people and get to know people and I think also, I think you guys are highly, highly authentic and I try to be just who I am and everything. And I think that's really important today because we're just seeing a lot of sort of created crap. And it's nice when people can just be themselves and you can really get a good feeling for who they are as people.
Yeah, you
Right.
definitely get the real us on the podcast.
Yeah.
And you're not alone in the mispronunciation of names. There's some pretty great episodes where Shereen just butchered the names.
Yeah.
So good.
So it's
Yeah.
okay. I don't take offense because like I misspell it, I mispronounce it. I've been, I can figure out when people are trying to say my name. So it's fine. And then I butcher everybody else's. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I like when people mispronounce my name, Fretzin and Fretzin and all that. And then I don't never feel bad if I mess up theirs. So it's a quid pro quo on that. So tell us a little bit about your outside counsel experience, and that's going to be a good lead into a number of questions that I have for you today that I believe will help lawyers, figure out is that a direction they want to go versus the private practice, and then my jam, of course, is helping lawyers get in to meet general counsels and pick up that business, which is a whole different direction. I want to take you guys down and get some good insight. So, Shereen, you want to start us out?
Yeah, so I mean, I had a long career mostly in-house, right? So I started out in the government. Nicole and I both worked together for the city, and then I went on and represented the federal government at the Federal Trade Commission. So the first decade of my career was all government service. And then after that, I joined Nicola at the corporation that she was at and was in-house there, and then a startup that during the pandemic didn't start up. And I decided, hey, that little idea percolating in the back of my head to start my own practice bubbled up. And I did that for a little while and then joined a group of incredible lawyers that are just being innovative. A lot of them had been in-house counsel as well or have their own businesses. So it was a good fit for me with the little entrepreneurial bug and also having that experience to be outside counsel and then be able to partner well with in-house counsel.
And
Yeah.
I've only ever been in-house. So in my 20 years of practice, I went straight into the government. Although I would say a lot of people don't really appreciate that that is in-house, but the where we worked, it was 80 plus lawyers running that city. So it was really crazy when you think about, I mean, that's a bigger than a mid-sized law firm for sure. And then I've been in-house for different corporations, both in financial services, the toy industry, and even the RV industry. So it's been really interesting getting to do it. And I think what Shereen, through her different experiences, has highlighted for me, I've always taken for granted that outside counsel gets, not always, for many years, I took for granted that outside counsel understood how in-house counsel work. And then one day I realized, oh, that's really not the case. Like there are definitely things that I think can be highlighted that outside counsel don't necessarily appreciate or understand the perspective of in-house counsel, that if they did, it could really elevate not only the relationship, but how they connect and how they maintain those relationships.
Well, we'll go with that. What don't they understand? Because I'm, interacting with lawyers all over the world that could really use that insight.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the key things are, when you're working in-house counsel, you're an employee of the organization and you are pulled in a lot of different directions. There are in-house counsel that are very, you know, targeted practices inside those organizations, but then a lot of them are generalists, and so they're really getting pulled into anything and everything. And I very rarely have a day that I've mapped out that actually ends up being the day that I mapped out.
Hmm.
Um, and
Best
oftentimes
laid
find my
plans.
yeah, and often find myself in situations or conversations where I'm being asked a question about something that I know a little bit about, or maybe nothing at all, and I'm having to make a pretty educated decision and provide advice in 10 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't have the luxury of going and researching it and, pulling up a memo and talking to my other attorneys in my office and trying to figure out how I'm going to respond to this client. I'm really taking that short conversation, pulling as much as I can out of it, applying it to the knowledge I have, and trying to give a best, scenario on how to navigate that, get to their business goal with the least amount of risk, right? So I think there's that piece of it.
I would say going with the risk piece is that you have to have a much higher risk tolerance in-house because business is moving very quickly, right? They don't want to wait for a memo, and you really have to be able to digest the information from your business and then from your outside counsel to be able to give an operational and implementable solution, right? That's not no, unless they're going to go to jail, right? So,
Right.
and usually that's not
That's
the
the
case.
cutoff. That's the
That's the
cutoff.
cutoff. If you're going to go to jail, like it's no, but like that's very rare. So I think that piece is important. And one of the other pieces is that a lot of lawyers don't speak business.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of those lawyers, right? I mean, I didn't know that until I got in and went into financial services. So had to learn that very quickly. And I think that piece is also something that they need to understand.
So when you say they don't speak business, it's that they don't understand the business side of a business. Like they know the law, but they don't necessarily know like how the business runs. So it's difficult for them to sort of put them together.
I think there's that. I think it's also just understanding, the different letters that get thrown at you, right? There's all sorts of acronyms and other references that the business uses with ease that, we don't get taught in law school. So,
Okay.
um, I would say as in-house counsel, it has a very humbling aspect to it. I mean, I often find myself saying, "Can you explain that to me? What does this mean?" Or on the side, I'm Googling and trying to figure out what these three letters might mean to understand the context of the conversation. Um, or, I get real comfortable with saying, "I don't know the answer, but I'll get back to you." We're just not trained to do that as lawyers. So I think that's a really hard thing to allow yourself to do. And then, as outside counsel, that probably sounds horrifying if you're going to tell a client, I don't know. But if I have a good relationship with you and trust, I want you to be able to tell me what you know and don't know. And then we can figure out how to get the expertise. Because oftentimes the reason I'm reaching out is because I either need your expertise. This is like the area that I know enough about, but I need you, or I need you because I don't have enough resources internally because I'm spread so thin,
Yeah.
depending on the size of our legal department. And I need you to be an extension of me. And you can't be an extension of me if you don't understand how to say no, how to say I don't know, right? Or to ask the questions you need to get in order to be able to give the advice that you need to give.
Gotcha. So I've been consulting my clients for years on how to develop relationships with all different kinds of people, but business owners and such, but also with inside counsel. And one of the things that I tell them is to continue to ask questions like, What do you have on your desk that you need to get off of it? What's keeping you, crazy? Or what else can I do for you to help you in your career, within your position, um, to try to deepen the relationship between just the work and the matters and actually with that in-house counsel? Is that good advice? Why is it good advice? Should they be doing that and more? Is that too much?
No, I mean, I like that. I don't think you can just dive in with that.
Oh,
I
well, no,
think you
this is
have to lay
after
the,
you've been working
yeah,
together for like a year or two and the relationship's great. You've saved
right.
the outside counsel has saved the day. Like you want to have that. But I think what I'm trying to do is like, how do you deepen the relationships? Because people, as you know, are changing jobs. I mean, in-house counsels are
Yes.
moving around more than ever before. And the worst feeling in the world is when you do a great job and then that in-house counsel leaves and you lose that business because you didn't deepen the relationship enough to go with, is an
Yeah.
example.
Well, there's areas, I mean, when I come, like, when Shereen was my outside counsel on certain matters, so she was very focused on whatever the issue was that I was needing help with or the project, right? That was critical in the moment. But then there's so many other facets of the business. So just through her asking me questions like, okay, we finished that marketing project or that privacy project, whatever it is. Tell me some other things that are happening in the business. What are you trying to accomplish this season or this year? Or, where do you see changes occurring within the business? How is your market being impacted by X? um, in-house counsel, we're lawyers too, and we also like to hear ourselves talk.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Since when? Since when?
So, I mean, if you really want to engage your in-house counsel, we love to talk about the things we're doing. And more often than not, we're passionate about our client, especially because it's the only client we have. So we're all in, and we want to be talking about the cool things that we're doing, where we're seeing, challenges in the marketplace or the industry, regulatory things. If you're heavily regulated, we're excited to talk about what we do and what our businesses are doing and how we're trying to thrive. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really natural, nice way to get to know your client. And in that conversation, a topic may come up that then naturally segues into something else that you have familiarity with or that your firm specializes in.
Right, right. So
Yeah.
the cross marketing that maybe hadn't happened can happen because they're asking questions and identifying that there might be problems or things that another lawyer in that firm might be able to assist with. And obviously, the more business that firm can do with an in-house counsel, the stickier things get and better
Right.
for all potentially.
I would also say, the advice, the public companies, there's a lot more documentation out there for you to keep up with what's happening. But for the private companies, I think these conversations are really important, like what's on the horizon, what's going to launch, or just periodically checking out the company's website and what they're posting, following them on LinkedIn to see like the latest whatever is
Mm.
coming out, just so that you know what's going on. I mean, generally, if you're actually working with counsel, you will probably know some of those things, but you're not going to know all of them, right? Your marketing counsel's not going to know all the things that are going on necessarily with um, the technology and your AI policies and some other stuff, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what you guys are doing, what you're implementing there. So,
Okay.
I think the other key is to be flexible as outside counsel because, for me, I hate emails. So if you're emailing me a bunch of stuff, I may or may not see it or spend time on it. I really like text. That's how you get to me faster.
Mm.
So, you know, um, I, my counsel that I work with the most, if there's something critical we're working on or that's time sensitive, they may email it because that's important for them to have that trail. But they may also shoot me a text just saying, hey, I just shot you an email with this information that you're going to want to look at. Or, in response to whatever we were discussing. I have a hard time stepping away for lunch. Lunch is not an ideal time for me. My business is on across several time zones. So lunchtime is just as busy as the morning and the afternoon, but I do love like a late coffee when the East Coast is closed, right, or closing down for the day, or an early breakfast. So I think getting to know your counsel and figuring out how to meet them in the space that works with their schedules is really good.
Yeah.
I love to volunteer, getting to volunteer with my outside counsel. Another great way to just kind of get to know each
Yeah.
other on a personal level.
But the timing of when they're typically slower, more available, the way that you communicate, email, text, phone, what's their style? I mean, these are all things that I think lawyers need to pick up on that are dealing with in-house counsels to communicate more effectively and make sure that they're not catching you during, a hair on fire moment, if possible. I've got a different direction I want to take this. It's more on the lawyers, private lawyers that want to meet. So let me do this. Okay. I had a client a few years ago who's in the IP space, and she says she's going to a conference, and she goes to this conference every year. And she has all of these super high powered GC friends, and they meet her for lunch and they meet her for coffee and they meet her for drinks. She gets zero business from them. And these are all the people that could give her work. And she's very good at what she does, but she's terrified to approach the subject of she's in the friend zone, do the air quotes, and how do I get out of the friend zone? And I'm not going to give away my secrets, although I gave her 3 or 4 really good ideas. What's your take on how someone that is your friend, and maybe this is something you guys can actually do because you did it, but how does someone break through the barrier? And even if maybe you don't need that work at the time, at least they have the gumption to bring it up to you in a way that's not offensive or that's not going to hurt the relationship, because that's the big concern, right? People don't want to hurt the relationship with their friend by bringing up we could do business together.
I'll give my perspective, and then Shereen probably has a different point of view because she's in the midst of it. So for me, I would say, a nice way to do it, if we're at that conference, probably that conference, I'm there for a lot of reasons, and I'm not necessarily looking for outside counsel. I'm going to educate myself to get more knowledgeable on an area of law that I need, et cetera, and make contacts and so forth. But I'm going to remember the people I met with. And I think afterwards, I always enjoy it when someone follows up with me, whether it's through a LinkedIn message or if they have my work email and they, point out, hey, it was really great catching up with you. I really enjoyed XYZ. Would love to meet up for coffee or breakfast, or I came across this article that's on point with something that we went and attended together. I thought I'd share it with you. Here's why I think it's important. There's nice soft ways to touch up if it's something that she doesn't want to just come out and say, I want, what projects do you have?
Give me the work.
But you can ask that too. And I think most people would just say, thank you for telling me you're interested in helping me with that. I don't have anything currently, but then you're also on my short list. So, I think you can go both directions. You just have to know your audience.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if you can't ask your friends, how are you going to ask strangers? You've spent time building these relationships, right? So a lot of folks now that I'm friends with, right? We went to law school together. We served on the bar together. There's all this pattern of things that we've done together. So they know my character. And frankly, a lot of times I run into them and they'll be telling me, what's going on or that, they're really spread thin. And that's usually the moment where I'm like, I'm literally right here. Right? Like that happened with Nicola. Like it was literally that conversation.
It was in my garage.
No, it was at dinner. We went to dinner.
It was dinner?
Yes.
We had dinner.
Maybe you had dinner in your garage.
It was at dinner.
And
I forgot.
You had like this crazy, it was like, she was like, I need to clone myself. And I literally said, well, I'm right here.
And she had an interview the following Monday. And that was the end of it.
I came in on as contract and then I went in-house. But I did it recently with another friend, like, oh, my assistant's going on maternity leave. And I was like, so can I help you? Right? Like, can I be of assistance?
I think the advice that I'm giving, and this is my one of my more recent books is called "It's Not Rocket Science," right? Legal business development isn't rocket science, but essentially it's be curious, be interested, and ask. What do you have? What's going on? What do you have? What do you have? That you can't get off your plate. What's your big plan for 2025? What are the challenges that you're looking? I wish I could clone myself. And what happens is that can, to your point, expose the problems, the challenges, and the things where you may be able to offer and say, well, listen, I don't know if you're comfortable with this, but this is kind of what I do. Obviously you two have the kind of relationship you could say, look at me, I'm in front of you. Other people might have to, that maybe don't have quite the same close relationship, may have to say, well, look, I mean, would it make sense for us to have a conversation about that? I may be able to at least help advise you or give you some thoughts. That's kind of where I was going
I mean,
anyway.
even for like some of the folks that are in bigger companies, right? So the question is, can you tell me about the RFP process, right? I
Yeah.
think, the firm is at a point where we think this would be a good client. Can you give us a little insight on how to approach the RFP process so that we can get in the mix, right? Especially
Hmm.
if it's a public, like a semi-governmental entity or something like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
and we just do that. We are fortunate also here in Dallas, like our bar is focusing on that and we have places where we can go and get to know some of these folks and then ask for intros. So if you're not comfortable for asking the work from your friends directly, ask them for the intro for the GCs that they know in companies that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And they're always happy to do that.
But they
Yeah,
don't
and
know. Lawyers struggle with that. I'm working with them all the time on that, on the language and the approach, because that's sort of where they're finding a tremendous amount of angst.
well, I think people are just naturally fearful of rejection, right?
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
get a no, that can feel like rejection. But really, a no could be a no, I don't have anything right now, but now I know you're interested. So then when I do have something, because let's be honest, like in-house counsel, they a lot of times don't have control over the issues that are coming through, right?
Yeah.
We try to be as proactive as we can and plan, and there's certain things you can predict for, but then there's other things that we just can't predict for, and we're in reactive mode. And so even though you may get a no right now, it may be a yes later. And it's just a patience game. I think also maybe outside counsel doesn't appreciate and realize, when we have a change of chief legal officer, that chief legal officer is going to be bringing their relationships to their new organization. And so part of it too is how do you as outside counsel help your connection internally get connected and get familiar with the new person in charge?
Hmm.
Like, what can I do? How do I learn about them? Can you make an intro? What are their needs? And use and leverage the relationship you do have in that organization to learn more about the person that is now running the whole organization so that
Yeah.
maybe you don't fall off the list, you know?
Right, right. I think there's an opportunity to develop a relationship so strong and deep that so that when the GC leaves, they take you with, but you also have the relationships with the other assistant GCs and other executives at that company where you can stay there too. I mean, that's sort of the promised land
Yeah.
of outside counsel and keeping business. But I don't think that happens because you're a good lawyer and you do good work and that's sort of it. I think there's depth of not only the relationship, but depth of how you're adding value for the in-house counsel that goes beyond what most lawyers are doing. Is that, maybe we'll wrap up on that point, but is that fairly accurate?
No, I think that's true. There's lots of great lawyers out there that are really good at what they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, to your point, like how to deepen it, uh, support causes that they or their company really enjoy so that you can meet more than just the one lawyer that you know, right? So
Yeah.
volunteer work, sponsoring certain events that you know that somebody's going to be there, sponsoring the lawyers for awards, right? I think that's really good.
Inviting the lawyers to come in and speak to your firm and
Yep.
share about, what their expectations are with outside counsel, what works, what doesn't, and have sort of a fireside chat can be really effective. And again, in-house lawyers like talking just as much as outside counsel, right? Like we like talking about what we do. Um, and that also shows interest to your in-house client that you really want to explore and deepen the relationship. That's also
Yeah.
a great way to get connected.
Yeah. Well, this has been, I mean, so powerful and eye-opening. And I hope that folks that are listening that have that angst and have that friend zone mentality and are really just struggling with, that's where I think a lot of the low-hanging fruit business is. It's in the in-house counsel and in the presidents and the CEOs and the clients that you have that you've developed a deep relationship with, but you're not comfortable making the ask. You're not comfortable cross-marketing. You're not doing the right things to be in a position to spend less time but get more because you're good at what you do and you've gone the extra mile. So that's
It always reminds me of a quote from one of our our oil and gas professor. He'd always, about all the disputes. It's just business, right? It's just business.
it's just business. Love it. I love it. Well, that's where we're going to wrap things up on our game-changing podcast. And this sounds like you two, but Lawyers Behaving Badly podcast. Who's podcast? Well, I've heard that before, but whose podcast is that?
Oh my gosh, you're gonna put us on the spot. They are
It's
two
Jennifer Judge and Karen Delaney.
Yeah.
Okay.
They started it a couple years ago. They are hilarious. They actually research for their podcast, unlike Shereen and me. Just by the nature of their topics. They don't have guests, but what I love about it is they really identify the ridiculousness of things that happen in the world and in the legal world, and they do the research, and some of the stuff that they dig up is priceless.
Wow, and there's an unlimited wealth of material if we're talking about stupid.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the world.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. All right. Awesome. Well, listen, let's wrap up with our, have you guys heard of did I introduce you or have you heard of the Law Her podcast?
Yes, I
With
have heard of
Sonia?
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's a phenomenal podcast, really empowering women lawyers to be their best selves and everything. And so I want Sonia Palmer running that, and got to give a shout out to our friends over at PIMCon happening in October. You can check that out online if you're interested in the top personal injury conference of the year. That's going to be with our friend Chris Dreyer. If people want to, listen to your show or they want to learn more about you two, what are the best ways for them to find you both?
LinkedIn for us individually is great. And then on socials, including LinkedIn, at Counsel Brew. So
Counsel Brew.
counsel as in lawyers, right? SEL, and
we
brew
go.
as in, for us, it's coffee, but whatever
Coffee.
your brew of choice is.
Okay. Do you guys grind beans?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Just
We
checking.
have,
yeah.
we have fancy machines. We have
Okay.
all sorts of stuff.
All right. All right.
But we
Yeah.
love exploring the path to badassery, and we do have a lot of lawyers, but we also have non-lawyers, and it's been really fun to see the journeys are not unsimilar. But everybody has their own unique path of challenges and different things they've overcome. They look shiny and pretty, but when you really dig deep, you realize what all it took to get to where they are.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun.
Pretty cool stuff, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your wisdom. And I think this has just been, again, not a topic that we have had on. I mean, coming up on 500 shows. And I think it's really an important topic for lawyers to manage and develop and create these relationships with in-house counsel so that they can, be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. You didn't know I was going to go there. I always go there. That's the way to wrap things up, isn't it? Anyway, I appreciate you both. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, together now, stereo.
That was so
That was
good.
good.
Yeah.
Very
We
good,
didn't
very good.
practice that.
That's it. That's it. Hey, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us today. And, just again, helping you to be that lawyer, confident, organized, and skilled rainmaker. Take care. Be safe. Be well. We'll talk again soon.